Change Your POV podcast is about building confidence in your own beliefs, morals, and opinions while challenging yourself to be open, humble, and curious about things that you are unfamiliar with, don't have experience in, or straight up disagree with.
We will explore concepts and ideas that will challenge you physically, mentally, and spiritually. Personal introspection is among the greatest skill sets you will learn to hone. The foundation of your success is rooted in trust, gratitude, and forgiveness.
So join us as we explore things that we are unfamiliar with, strengthen things that we are, and are always challenging ourselves to become better.
Change Your POV podcast, where perspective is the vantage point of success.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Can you believe that it's almost the end of January already?
No, because
That's insane.
it's so weird. Time is flying.
How long does it normally take you to stop writing like the previous year on everything?
That's a good question, and I can't really remember, but I know that I've been pretty good this year.
Yeah?
A few days into it, it's because I write so many damn notes, you know?
Right.
Treatment notes, I guess is what you would call them. So I remember a couple times writing 2020 in like, the first few days, and then after that the 2021 just became habit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think for too long.
Well, I am still forever
Oh my God.
typing
That's awful.
2020. Yeah, it's brutal. But yeah, hopefully I can get the hang. I mean, we've been trying to get out of 2020 forever, and now I can't seem to let it die.
Now you want to freaking just live there again.
Just live there forever, yeah.
It's like a time machine.
Recap. Let's do a quick rundown on today's show. We are going to be talking about Hackworth's book About Face, Chapter 10, Black Shoes. And then we're going to get into... Yes. Now, you notice there was one of the previous chapters was brown shoes, right?
Yes, correct.
Right. And so this is kind of like the transition where the military, well, the Army anyways, transition out of brown shoes into black shoes. And for anyone that's been in the military, when there's been a significant change to uniform, you'll know what I'm talking about. I was in the Army when we got rid of the PC, the patrol cap, and went to the black beret.
Yeah, but you also were in during the switch over from Woodlands to
DCUs.
DCUs too. I did not make it to the DCUs. I was close. Like, units were doing it, but Fort Drum had not yet.
Well, let's be honest. When we converted over to DCUs, the Army is like, let's only convert half the uniform.
Yeah, it's
DCUs.
true. It's true. Because the rest of you had, you still had like a Woodland Gore-Tex and all the other shit.
Yeah.
I think part of it was too is because I was like, I'm getting out, so don't even fucking bother.
Right.
I think that was part of it for me too.
Did I ever tell you the story when we deployed to Iraq? We had the DCU uniform, but they did not have the DCU flak vest yet.
Ugh.
And so we had the Woodland camouflage vest, right?
Yeah, so you just look like
Right.
garbage.
So when we first deployed, we were part of OIF too. Some brainchild somewhere said, "Oh, well, we can't get everyone, DCU flak vests in enough time. So the best we can do is give everybody a flak vest cover. So like a bivvy that you put over your flak vest, right?
Jesus. Oh my God.
Which is
I can't even imagine.
So that's all you need in a desert that gets 130 degrees in the shade is just another blanket to put on, right? But anyway, so they issued these bivvy covers, but not everybody got them. And then even the ones that did get them, not everybody wore them. And it didn't take very long before we were out on patrol, and all of a sudden, the guys that were wearing these DCU bivvies over their flak vest, they were getting shot by like long range snipers in the vest. And we finally realized that the reason why these guys were getting shot at is because from a distance it looked like they weren't wearing a flak vest. So the bad guys were actually
and a flak
shooting
vest
them.
ain't stopping shit anyway. That's the other thing.
Well, there was a couple of guys that came back that literally the sappy plate actually stopped.
Well,
rounds.
see, and that's the difference. So when you say flak vest to me, I'm
you're
thinking Vietnam flak vest.
Yeah, you're thinking the old school
Yeah,
flak
yeah.
vest that looks more like a flotation device than an actual.
Correct. That doesn't stop shit, really.
Right.
And like the one that you had was probably made in like 1982.
Right. Yeah, this was the new the newer OTV with.
So that was with an actual plate carrier.
Yeah, sappy
Okay.
plates on the front and the back. And let's be honest, those fuckers were heavy, bro.
Yeah, they're fucking super heavy.
Heavy. You throw that bitch on with your sappy plates. So you got the vest alone is heavy, and then you throw the sappy plates in it, and then you throw on all your ammo pouches and radio, and by the time you get into your truck, man, dude.
Like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, baby. You can't fucking move. You can barely move. You're like, actually, a better analogy is Ralphie from
That Christmas
story where homeboy can't even hardly walk. You're like,
falls over and does the snowman. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what it feels like. Rough. But, yeah, man. So, anyway, that's what we're going to talk about, black shoes. And then we're going to get into, I got some military news updates. And then we're going to get into the topic of the week, which is a transformation of your mind, body, and spirit. And I actually found a pretty good article called The 5 Steps for Mental, Spiritual, and Physical Rejuvenation. And then we'll do the archive spotlight, and then we'll wrap it up. How does that sound?
perfect.
All right. Welcome, folks, to yet another episode of Change Your Point of View podcast. This is episode 231, and let's get right into it. Sir,
So,
Mr. Hackworth.
Chapter 10, Black Shoes. We've got, they called it the Brown Shoe Army, and then it was the Black Shoe Army. It's funny how the little things changed everything somehow. What made it different? I don't know what the hell it was. You're still the same guy, still the same son of a bitch you ever were, still good or still bad, but it changed. Hold on. But the changing of the shoes really put something in the air. Captain Steve Rozenka, U.S. Army retired intelligence and reconnaissance platoon sergeant, traced United States Troops, which is trust, since we love our acronym so much, 1947 through 1950.
Yes, and he's right. The little things do.
Well, remember the controversy with the Black Berets?
Oh, yes. I was there for that.
Yeah, I was there too.
Okay.
So the big stink was the Rangers,
Right.
because the Rangers had the Black Berets, and they had to come up with some other fucking color because
Right.
the Army couldn't come up with another fucking color.
Right.
They're like, fuck you,
what
Rangers. We're going to wear black. And if you want a special beret, you've got to pick a different color. So they went, green berets, obviously, unavailable because you have green berets.
Right.
The burgundy, maroon, whatever the fuck you want to call the 82nd beret. I know that there's guys yelling at the fucking radio right now. Whatever the fuck it is, because I don't know. I don't remember what they exactly call it, but I always like to refer to it as a raspberry beret. And
Right.
go with the pink, the purple. What the fuck's the dude's name? Prince. I'd like to go with the Prince song.
The artist formerly known as.
known as raspberry beret. So you have that, and that was it, right? You had those two designates, and that was it within the Army. The Air Force has some beret things going on, but either way, so the Rangers then came up with tan because that was a good idea.
But why wouldn't the Army just go with the tan and leave the Rangers with their black?
I don't know. I don't know.
You know what I
I
mean?
think it's kind of stupid. I always was like, yeah, man, let the Rangers keep their black berets. Like, they're badass. But now everyone's like, oh, well, we get to wear the badass black berets too.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever.
It was. I think it was like the first step or at least the first stab at the Army's collective. What's it called? Diversity and inclusion. Efforts,
Yes.
Right.
Now, I did wear before even the black beret went in. I pretty much closed out my Army career wearing old school desert BDUs.
Okay.
Because
Did the chocolate chips?
Nope, not that old school. The other ones, the ones that were like pink. They had like the pink and the white.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. I know what you're talking about.
Because basically the last year and a half that I was in the Army, we were attached to the multinational force and observers in Egypt.
Okay.
So I was in Egypt for 9/11. So
Right.
we wore a burnt orange beret.
Oh, really?
Yes. And they had for years. That's what that mission wore. So we were walking around with these, it's the middle of fucking winter at Fort Drum.
Yeah.
We're walking around with these burnt orange berets and desert BDUs.
Wow.
And it's freaking, there's like 6 feet of snow on the ground.
Right.
Right?
That's awful.
So it was definitely, what was cool though, and I have to admit, and so this is where I'm bringing it back around to go with the Black Shoe Army, is that when you put on that other uniform, like, it was cool to have that change.
Right. Yeah.
It was almost like a new beginning.
Yeah, and it definitely, changing up different aspects of the uniform, whether it be in your work uniform, let's call it, versus your dress uniform, regardless of the change, it's almost like a milestone marker in history.
Yeah.
So when you're talking to veterans, you could be like, like you and I right now, we're talking about, what era we served, and you could kind of tell by the uniform that people wore. So it's kind of interesting how the military uniforms evolved over the years. I will tell you though that I was also there when the whole Army went to this black beret. And let's be honest, I mean, it was
kind of a shit show, but
dude, people can't figure out how to wear it today. But you imagine when we all converted over, like,
there were some soup sandwiches out there.
Yeah, there was like a hard cutover date, and we even had like a ceremony, and everyone like took off their PCs and donned their black beret. And let me tell you, bro.
You guys must have been really confused because you have so many fucking hats. Who knew? When do I get to wear my Stetson? When do I get to wear my cowboy hat or this?
Nobody was available to show or teach anybody how to actually wear the beret.
And nobody knew how anyway.
No. So there was a lot of like people walking around looking like Luigi from the Mario, just like this pizza hat thing going on.
Well, luckily, my unit,
the strings hanging out.
I know
the
this
back.
has nothing to do with Hackworth, but whatever. At least, so we were lucky. My platoon sergeant, he had served in a Ranger bat.
Oh, okay. So he at least knew what was
so
going
he
on.
was like a specialist, and then an E5. He pinned his E5 at the bat, right?
Okay.
Like he had been. I'm trying to think. Either way, so he had been in the bat for like 5 or 6 years, and then also one of our squad leaders had been at the bat too. Mm-hmm. And he was one of our squad leaders only because he was like he didn't stay with us very long. He just happened, that was like the billet that he was holding.
He was there just to help you guys out with the
basically, yeah. That's kind of how it worked out. He ended up becoming a platoon sergeant for like one of the other platoons, but that was like, it's like you're not going to get promoted if you stay in the bat. So you got to go somewhere else. So he was an E6, and then he pinned his E7 and then took the platoon.
Got it.
Before our deployment, like our last deployment that we
Yeah.
made to, if that's what you want to call that fucking thing. It was amazing. That was such a good deployment. But it was amazing until until the shit went down. And then it
Right.
stopped being amazing for a while, at least, you know?
Yeah. Right.
But anyway, so we had guidance. Like, we shaved our berets down
Yeah,
and did a whole thing. So they taught us how to do all that shit. So we came out and we were like, yep. Like, we were all squared the fuck away. The rest of the battalion was like, meh, all fucked up. So that was, I mean, not really. I mean, we actually got classes and stuff.
Oh,
but
we got
that's also
nothing.
the difference between infantry.
Oh yeah.
Because
right.
a lot of those guys we had guys that had been at the 82nd, you know.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of experience where you guys, you're just, fisting people.
We're walking around Fort Hood, and there's women literally tucking their buns up underneath their berets.
Jesus, Jesus Lord!
I'm telling you, man, it was a shit show. I mean, our initial gut feeling was like, this is awesome, and then after 30 minutes of watching everybody walk around like a bunch of idiots, we're like, this sucks.
Oh.
The biggest thing that I hated about it was the fact that the PC, when you're down in the motor pool and it's hot and sunny, it actually blocks the sun from your eyes, so you can actually get some work done. It's the berets, man. Once
Yeah, there ain't nothing, man. It's over.
Nothing. Yeah, that sucked. And then, I don't know about you, but once you wear the PC for a while, there's just a certain way you can fold it and stick in your pocket. You take off the black beret, and it's just like a wet noodle that you got to try to figure out how to store. When you know what I mean? It was such a pain in the ass to get used to be honest with you.
Yep.
But yeah, then I got out right before the military moved into the digital patterns, and I still, for the life of me, there seemed to be within pretty rapid succession, there was two different types of digital uniforms, and it looks like they're both still in use today, and I don't know the difference between why some units would wear one kind of digital uniform and then another unit would wear, because you got the gray digital pattern, and then you have more of that, I don't know, what do you want to call it, more
well,
greenish.
The DCU turned out to be the worst uniform ever made.
Yeah.
So and that was a whole shit show, because the Marine Corps had their own pattern,
right,
in desert and woodland, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Army was trying to do their own thing too, but instead it's I never understood, why are we not just doing this together, as a force? So then you moved into, also then the Navy came out with that wonderful uniform, that was the blue DCUs, right?
Yeah.
Which, holy Christ. I guess you had to get in on it, had to get in on the thing, on the change.
Yeah. Everybody's got to be, everyone's got to have a digital
But,
pattern.
now
Come
you
on
have
now.
the Army Combat uniform, which is, it's not even a digital.
Right, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But those are badass. I actually like that camo pattern.
Right.
There's so many different ones, and I'm sure there's needs and different things for them. But I was never that much of a geardo,
right?
To get
exactly.
to get that deep into it,
Yeah.
But
I did like the Marine Corps digital. If you're up close,
and they
to
still
it,
have it. It's got USMC written in it.
Yeah, I think doesn't have the Eagle Globe and Anchor in the pattern as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's, and that's one of those things that the Marine Corps, I get it. That's what the Marines do. They kind of see themselves as special and better and all these things, which is totally true, by the way. I'm just saying.
Right, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
At least in our minds, and that's all that fucking matters half the time. So let's be honest about that too.
Somebody told me that one day, and I didn't believe it. So I was in the PX somewhere when there was a Marine, and I'm like,
he rolled up on his ass.
Yeah, and I'm getting like uncomfortably close to the guy, trying to find the Eagle Globe. It's almost like where's Waldo, right? I'm trying to find Waldo in this.
That's
He
amazing.
kind of turned around and looked at me. He's like, can I help you? I'm like, oh, man, I'm just, I grabbed the first thing off the shelf I could find. Like, I was interested in it. I don't know what the hell
And
it
you're
was.
all like fucking looking at a box of tampons.
Yeah.
And you're like edging over to him closer. Like,
yeah,
oh,
this is
man,
exactly
let me look
what
at
I was
that.
looking for.
Let me see your uniform.
So stupid, man.
He's looking at you like, dude, this guy needs to just get fucked. Like, what in the hell is going on here? Oh,
Yeah,
God,
man. So,
damn it.
So yeah, you got to be a little. Now, let me ask you though: the new uniform, dress uniform, or the pinkies, the old World War II.
Oh, you know what?
dress
I actually
uniform.
think they're badass, dude.
I
That's
do
just
too.
me, but
No, I mean way better than the green.
Oh,
well,
the shit green freaking Class A's, bro.
Well, I will tell you that the black beret with the green is much better. When I first joined, it was that stupid green screwdriver hat.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that thing sucked, man.
Yeah,
I hated that thing.
not cool.
But,
I mean,
yeah,
the bottom line is, everybody just wants to look like a Marine, then they're dressed blues.
You're right. You're right. And I will tell you, I mean, there's
Because
no
the
way
Army dress
Army's-
blues,
Yeah.
fuck off. Like they got, well, they remember they had initially got rid of the Class A's, the green uniform,
Yeah, they did.
a few years ago. Like I can't remember if it was right as I was getting out or if it was.
Yeah, and they went to blues.
And
well,
everybody-
first it was like all the
everybody went to
officers were
blues.
blues.
Right.
And then everybody went to blues. Yeah.
Yeah, and even like nobody wanted to invest the money in them because they're
Right.
like, why?
Yeah,
when
exactly.
am I going to wear these once a year? Maybe.
Yep.
Whereas Class A's, you wore them quite a bit. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
you were in garrison, it seemed like every other day there was some ceremony for some weird shit or some awards or some kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Oh, we're going to do a Class A inspection. The thing is usually that signaled that you were getting like a half day.
Yeah, exactly.
So you were
Right.
always like, okay, I'm in. My shit's going to look great, Sergeant. Fucking amazing.
yeah.
So with this chapter, though, Hackworth had gotten out. The 2 longest years of his life,
Yeah.
he was off active service for 2 years. The
Yep.
2 longest of his life, and he'd never known whether I made the right decision to in quitting over the MPs. One thing I was sure of, though, was that I regretted it from the moment I left Fort Mason. Civilian life was was boring. Yes, it is. It isn't now, but it can. It definitely initially it is, and we can always talk about that at another point with transition.
Yeah, right.
It just wasn't my bag. And from the onset, I missed the adventure, the kinship, which I think might be one of the biggest things, the camaraderie stuff,
Yeah, I agree.
and the sense of belonging that came with being in the Army. I probably missed the structured, disciplined life, which I think people don't understand how easy that is. Just listen. Someone will tell you what you need to do. You don't have to think a lot of times. So once you have to think for yourself and actually be places that no one's making your schedule for you,
Right.
that can be difficult. So I couldn't find a purpose in the world outside the military, and the same unknown variable that had compelled me from childhood to join up now had me counting the days until my self-imposed exile were over. And General Cleland, there's that name again,
Yeah.
had been assigned to the top soldier job in the Army as CG of 18th Airborne Corps, like we had talked about last week. We corresponded frequently. He urged me not only to hit the books, but to remain active in the reserves. Holy Christ. So I wouldn't lose touch. Accordingly, I joined, or more precisely, rejoined the 40th Division, which was transferred back to California, and National Guard in aptitude. When the Korean War ended 6 weeks earlier, I came home. It didn't take long for me to realize why the 40th had been so screwed up when I first deployed to Korea. There was nothing military about the National Guard organization except that we wore uniforms when we met once a week to drink coffee and shoot the breeze. I just kind of laugh because the correlation between last week and, I mean, even, with all of the National Guard shit in D.C.
Right.
So
yes.
each summer we had a 2-week training period at Camp Roberts, but by the time we'd unpacked and got set to play war, it was just about time to go home. So without General Clement Cleland to fuel the flame, the light of the fireball had flickered and died. And for myself, I started out with the enthusiastic troop co in Division Reconnaissance Squadron. But when I found out I was one of the few guys on the block who even gave a damn, I decided not to make waves. Instead, I rocked along with the rest of the weekend warriors and refused to feel guilty over the absolute waste of taxpayer dollars.
Well done, Hackworth.
Yeah. The post combat hangover, right?
Right,
for
yeah,
which
yeah.
no hair of the dog could cure existed.
That's the kind of the common thread with Hackworth throughout this book is once he served in a unit that he really admired and respected, he compared every other unit in the military to that one, and if it didn't meet his standard, he was very critical of the units, right?
Yes. Oh, well, I mean, but if you think about it too, he makes a really good point in the next paragraph, right? And this is, we can correlate this with what's going on now to an
Sure.
extent. and that we live in political cycles, and this is one of those, okay?
Yeah.
So let's call it what it is. And I'm not going to say it's a good thing or bad. Well, I am. It's a good thing. President Trump did not get us in any more new wars.
Right.
And if anything, scaled back in Iraq and scaled back in Afghanistan. Some people will argue that was a detriment, and other people, usually the anti-war folks for the most part, which frankly a lot of veterans are a part of at this point. Why did we even go? Right? So that was the question. So some of the statistics from the Korean War, instead there just been 3 years of fighting for nothing. And that's the way a lot of folks that were in Korea saw it, for sure.
Right.
And let's be honest, bro, you and I had this conversation when after Iraq, when they pulled out the main force and ISIS just went ballistic and retook like Mosul, retook Ramadi, and like 2/3 of the freaking country.
Right.
It wasn't 2/3, but it was a lot. And ISIS took control of that. Everyone was like, why the fuck were we even over there? Right?
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Okay. So we have had these things here too. So 3 years of fighting for nothing. $22 billion spent. Now I can only imagine $22 billion then. What the fuck does that translate to now?
Oh,
it has to be. I mean, I don't even know the amount of money that we've spent in Iraq. Are you fucking kidding me? It's got to be trillions of dollars.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
$22 billion at the time was a lot, but now you're like, man, that's a couple planes, right? So, $22 billion since and no decisive victory. More than 33,600 Americans' lives lost, 103,000 men wounded in action, 13,000 men were captured or MIA, which, holy fuck, 13,000.
Right.
And that was not to mention the ROC civilian military casualties of about, get this number, 844,000.
Wow.
And 3.7 million left homeless in South Korea alone. It was such a horrible waste. And Secretary of State John Foster Dulles, sound familiar, folks? Dulles.
Yeah, it does.
Dulles Airport in D.C. War's End proclamation that for the first time in history, an international organization has stood against an aggressor, did little to justify it in the eyes, and at least in Hackworth's eyes. We hadn't lost, but you hadn't won either. Even worse, we, meaning not the guys on the ground, but the UN governments, led by the United States, hadn't even tried, at least after the first year. It was something I didn't think I'd ever understand.
Mm-hmm.
So he's obviously, and technically, we are still at war with Korea. People don't.
Technically, yeah.
I mean, the reason that you have the DMZ and all the American troops there, and I guess they still technically call it a UN mission, except for it's all staffed by Americans.
Right. Yes.
Now, do you know? Do they have like liaison officers there for other parts, like some? Because on the ground there were other troops during the Korean War.
Right.
From other countries.
Correct.
But now do they have like mission liaisons? Did you ever deal with that shit when you were over there?
I was up. Well, I was originally stationed up north on the DMZ on Camp Currahee, which is no longer, well, actually it's Camp Greaves, which is no longer, I think, within the U.S. forces control. I think they gave it back to the South Koreans.
Right.
But that was right on the DMZ, north of the river. And the reason why that's important is because there's literally explosives and rock drops and everything on all of the roads that lead from North Korea in down through South Korea. They have rock falls, rock drops, explosive. So if the North Koreans ever started to invade,
they would just cut off all the
they blow everything.
land roads.
Exactly. And that was the big thing about
insanity. But I mean,
it
that's
makes sense.
old school. It makes sense.
Right.
But shit works.
Yeah. And that's the thing about being where I was stationed north of the river is if shit popped off and they blew that bridge, the only bridge heading south, like we were stuck. And we're talking a big river, dude. You ain't fording that bitch. I mean, it is a monster river. And so, yeah, that was one of the things. And we would run around, and there was a contingent of ROK, or the Republic of Korea, what's called the Rock Army troops that were up there. Man, those guys didn't fuck around. Those guys were hard as woodpecker lips, man. Let me tell you. And the further you get south,
it's nice to see that they took that shit seriously. You know, like
they took
so often. But you know what I mean, though. So often,
yes,
you see.
Yeah, well, you take your normal South Korean male, right? And I'm not. This isn't a racial thing. This is just the way it is. A lot of South Korean men are much smaller in stature,
yeah, right,
than U.S. men. However, in the Rock Army, these guys were like, like 5'10". There is like the short guys in their unit. They were tall, they were big, and they basically took all of the, biggest, baddest, tallest, ugliest, meanest motherfuckers they could find and moved them all north. Right? Because they wanted those guys as close to the DMZ as possible.
But look at it this way, too. In that culture, right? And that's what it is. In essence, the North and South still share a lot of cultural similarities, right? Even though they've been separated now for roughly 50 years. Yeah. The culture part still exists a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And one of those things is someone's physical stature matters there. I mean, just like in regular, if you're standing next to a dude that's like 6'5", 250, you're like, oh fuck.
Right.
But it's smoke and mirrors to an exception too, because those are the guys they wanted to see. Like, they want the North Koreans to see the big, tall South Koreans because they're like, yep, it's just intimidation tactics.
Right, it is. And the South or the North, if you're on the wall, the North Korean soldiers are just as big and bad and
right. Exactly, it's funny.
Yeah. So anyway,
but
it's still pretty interesting.
Still, frankly, though, compared to most of the Americans, they're still not. They're still not nearly as big in a lot of ways. It's pretty funny. So
yeah,
I love watching them do their pomp, like the ceremony stuff at that. Where's that one spot where
it's right? It's like a building that basically spans the north and south, and there's like a line that separates the north from the south.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
you got,
on a pretty regular basis, you'll see where like the North Korean army guys, like the guy will come running across the line and like just walk up and slap the freaking the South Korean guy. You're like, what in the fuck?
Well, you have the building right on the north side of the building. You got a North Korean soldier that's standing on the corner of the building.
Right.
So half of his body is looking south, and the other half of his body is like staring into the corner of the building. And then on the South Korean side, you got a South Korean soldier that's standing opposite corner.
Yeah,
of
it's
the
all
building.
so ceremonial too. It's
It's
kind of
crazy. Yeah, it is. It's an interesting place to visit for sure. But I don't know if that is actually open to.
Oh no,
public.
I would say not. I
don't
wouldn't say
know.
it's open to the public for viewing, that type of thing.
Yeah. So I got to check it out, and it was pretty. Yeah, it definitely. You visit there, you definitely realize that the war is technically not over. It's
Right.
just been in a ceasefire since
Yeah,
50s.
it's a freaking armistice.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
correct.
it.
That's crazy. Yeah, man. So good chapter. Chapter 10, Black Shoes. If you don't have the book already, go grab it, check it out.
And
listen
that
to it
was
on Audible.
see one of the things too, though, just to wrap this up with a little bow.
Yeah.
You didn't have just the Army. You had the Navy go through a brown shoe Army, or brown shoe
right.
Navy, black shoe Navy. You had all these things too. Now, needless to say, if you type black shoe Navy or black shoe Army into the Google machine, a lot doesn't come back. So
Right.
I was trying to look for like some different things that explained a lot out of this, other than having to read this whole chapter, because he does a good
Right.
job of explaining the changeover, right?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, there's no real good articles on it, or nothing really. So
Well, now once after I got out, they went away from the black shoe back
Yeah, they don't
into
even
a
have
brown shoe. And
motherfuckers
now they don't even have
to polish their shit.
Right? How is that a thing? Man, I remember
we're
that.
just pissed because we did.
Right,
I mean, let's be honest. I'm calling it what it was. It's us just being jealous. Although, I
yeah.
said, the last year and a half I was in the Army, basically, we didn't have to either because we were wearing
That's right.
desert.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
me
was
too.
so
'cause
fucking
I was-
awesome.
Yeah.
I still had to, iron your
Keep
shit.
them clean
but,
and shit, yeah.
but you didn't have to.
And it's funny. So here's a little secret that hard to admit, but I'll admit it. Occasionally, because I got work like dress shoes, leather dress shoes.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Cora
Frames.
tips or whatever. Yeah. No, not that crazy. I'm not that. No, just some regular, brown leather, work dress shoes. Anyway. So, occasionally I'll pull the shoelaces out of those sons of bitches and throw on some brown kiwi and go to town on them.
Yeah,
I mean, it keeps them fresh and new, but also, dude, they're just something. I just miss it sometimes.
Well, what did you
shining
tell me
boots.
the other day? And it kind of leads into what we're talking about today. It's somewhat therapeutic for you.
It is It's almost like a meditation, I guess.
Yeah.
You kind of smell in, you breathe in and smell that kiwi, and
I get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even my wife, she just looked at me and she goes, she likes the smell of it. So when I break out the kiwi, she's like, oh yeah.
Oh
I
shit!
Like the smell
Some
of kiwi.
shit goes down later.
Yeah. So that's what we light for incense in the house is kiwi wax.
I understand. She melts it. Well, she's got all that crafty shit anyway. So she like melts it down and like makes candles out of it and shit. I could see her doing that.
Speaking of melting down and making so anyone that's ever shined boots back in our era knows that how many people have almost burnt their apartment
Jesus
or the barracks
Christ.
down.
Yes.
Right?
Shit in their carpet, because that shit when it's
Yes.
lit on fire is like fucking napalm.
It is, bro. Yeah, it's gotten away. So we had this glass coffee table, and I'd light the can of kiwi, and it'd be flaming, and then I went to put the lid over the top, and it got hot, and it burnt my hand, and I kind of dropped it, and I tried to catch the lid, and I ended up
Jesus
spilling the
Christ.
shit all over the glass coffee table, and now it's spreading. Right now, I got this huge fire, liquid black molten fire just spewing across the the coffee table, and the glass of the coffee table is not designed to get like hot like that, so it tempered the glass and it shattered all over the carpet. So now I got broken glass, burning kiwi. I was like, oh my God, I'm about to burn this shit to the ground.
That's fucking. The worst. I did have it fall on carpet once.
Yeah.
Oh, bro.
There ain't no getting that out.
No. Nope. That's you're paying the deposit back. You know what I'm saying? Like there ain't no getting that out.
Like, you take my money back.
Why is there a hole in the carpet? Why is there a square cut right out of the carpet? Actually, because I was looking at Home Depot to replace the square.
Yeah, right. You walk into a soldier's apartment and all you see is like little sectional carpet,
black dots all over the fucking place. Oh, man.
Jesus. Yes. And anyone that's almost burnt a hole through a pair of BDUs with their iron, done that before too.
Oh, the stories. All for just to look good.
Just to look good.
And it's not even for us because we don't give a fuck. It's the whole fucking whatever, you know? Oh,
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
All right.
Get squared away there, fucker.
Segment 2, military news.
Christ.
So the first, in the news, this is relevant. It's happening. Biden calls National Guard chief after troops briefly ordered to take breaks in garage. This is all over the news.
Jesus Christ,
right?
It's so stupid.
Isn't it?
All right, folks.
You know Ben Shapiro?
Yes, Jesus.
So he was like throwing this big old fit about
Ben the elf?
Yeah, yes.
Come on. That's exactly what Santa's elves sound like. I'm sorry. I like Ben Shapiro to an extent. Well, here's what it is. You know exactly where he stands. He doesn't bullshit. He doesn't deviate. You have you have to give the man some and he's super smart. The problem is
really smart.
You can't out-talk him. So you're fucked no matter what. He's going to out-talk you.
Yes.
And he's gonna leave your brain kind of rattled a touch if you were ever to get into a debate with him. The problem is I couldn't seriously ever do that because all I see is a fucking elf.
You can't
even looks like an elf. It doesn't even just sound like one. All you need to do is put some ears on him, and you would have he'd be straight out of Lord of the Rings, man.
So you'd like start debating with him, and at the end, just be like, "Give Santa my best."
Give Santa my best, bitch, and just drop the mic. That's it.
So he is very opinionated, and I agree. You definitely know where he stands. But
and he's also
really
an Orthodox Jew, so he's not just like any religious guy. Like he's super learned in it, and like oh god damn. Yeah. I give the guy tons of credit. But either way.
He was super butthurt over the fact that National Guard troops had to, take a respite in some garage. And I'm just like, wait a minute.
There's only one bathroom for 5,000 of them.
Right? Like, where do these people think, are we living in a, Holiday Inn Express in Iraq? In Afghanistan?
Right?
I don't
How many concrete floors have you slept on?
Oh, my God. I can't even tell you.
It doesn't even matter. It's like, it's now you're just comparing softness of concrete. Right? If there is such a thing.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yes. Yeah, I can't tell you how many nights I've spent on
the floor in Saddam's palace is super nice. It's nice and smooth, but then you're in some fucking fob that has like a concrete slab, or you're probably in dirt. You're not in the freaking
right.
I mean, I never had to deal with that shit, but good Lord,
yeah,
I've slept on many a concrete floor.
I just cannot believe how the people are like. Now, one of the things that I noticed, if you watch the inauguration, right, which I didn't watch the whole thing, but I caught some glimpses of it, and they would pan the camera to kind of show the National Guard troops, and the only thing that bothered me about that was just it looked like a what do you call those? What do you call those military stores outside of military bases that sell army gear? Army surplus.
Yeah, the Army surplus places.
It looked like an Army surplus flea market with these. I mean, there was no standardization of uniform.
Well,
it looked like
duh.
it's
the
goddamn
National
militia.
fucking Guard.
I know,
Well,
but
according to most
Jesus.
people, that is our militia.
But can't they have a standardized uniform? Like, listen, guys, we're all probably going to be on the news because we are, I don't know, standing at the Capitol guarding the inauguration, and every news media outlet's going to be there. Why don't we all pick, I don't know, a headgear that we can all wear?
Right.
I'm just thinking out loud here.
Yep.
And it was just amazing to me how hodgepodgey, just
folks,
awful.
it's the
Just
National Guard.
awful.
It's the
It
National
is.
Guard.
Yeah,
That's what
it's
it comes
National
down
Guard.
to. It's these folks. Some of them served active duty, and some of them even served probably active duty while they were on the Guard. But that doesn't make them professional soldiers.
Right.
So there's a difference.
But, yeah, I agree, but damn, they could have.
Yeah, no, I get it, of course. But again, it's the same thing. Plus, stop politicizing this bullshit, folks. I mean, come on. It's kind of, I don't know. I've seen both sides of the coin, but come on, man. It doesn't. Any like real veteran that stops and thinks about it, and I say real veteran. That's not a good way to put it.
Like, opposed to the fake ones out
Yeah,
there.
but any veteran that really stops and thinks about it, come on. You're just using this because you're looking for a source of outrage. Like, you're throwing it against the wall to see if it sticks.
Right.
And if people are like, yeah, that sucks, then they'll keep going. But otherwise, come on.
So military.com says, after outcry when thousands of National Guard members in Washington, D.C. were abruptly moved from the U.S. Capitol
send them home.
to a crowded parking garage, President Joe Biden reached out personally to make amends. The troops were among the 25,600 Guard personnel deployed to D.C. That's a lot, man.
It's
25
and that's why everyone was freaked out, because they're like,
Right?
what is happening?
To provide extra security for the inauguration following January 6th rally that ended with a mob breaching the Capitol
I'm
building.
sorry, but again, totally politicized.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows how much this all cost? And at the end of the day, they were there for naught. I mean,
Yes. The news of the troops' treatment Thursday night, just one day after they secured a peaceful inauguration ceremony, outraged lawmakers. A flurry of congressional phone calls quickly resulted in Guard members being moved out of the Thurgood Marshall Judicial Center garage before midnight to a new break area near the Emancipation Hall in the Capitol. Break area, yeah. On Friday, President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden showed their support for the Guard in their own way. Quote, late this morning, the president called General Daniel Hokanson, who is the head of the National Guard, to thank him for not just his work over the last 2 weeks, but the work of the National Guard over the last several years, end quote. The White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said during today's press briefing. So it's just, I don't know, there's just a lot of people that are, and again, right, it's about news cycles and what can we bitch about, it's what is the, now, so the right now is like, okay, how do we attack the left? Now that the left's in power, how can we strike back? So it's just this constant. I saw this video on, I think it was LinkedIn yesterday, and it was these two dogs, and there was a fence that was separating the two of them. It was like one of those movable fences that you push a button and it's open, slides open, and you push the button, it slides closed. Yep. And there was they looked like the same breed of dog, larger dog, and the gate was closed, and one was on one side and the other was on the other side, and they were just going at each other, man. Teeth just going. I mean, you're like, oh my God, thank God that there's a fence between them. They would kill each other, right? And all of a sudden the fence opens, and as the fence gradually gets open, now there's no fence between them, and they both stopped growling and barking, and they were all like completely friendly, and then all of a sudden the gate closed again, and all of a sudden they're barking, and it just it was such a it reminds me of the way people are and the way they treat each other on social media or in the news or in the media, and then all of a sudden you get them in person and it's like, yeah, what's up, man? Yeah, no hard feelings. Everything's fine.
Right.
It's so stupid. So that was the first thing that I wanted to talk about in the news.
Well, I mean, to be fair too, because this is what I'm trying to do in this new year and with this new administration, is to talk about, give credit where credit's due. Even though people will be like, oh, it's just, because Joe Biden got himself for service, had many like draft deferments, and you can go after his service all that we want, but at the end of the day, I don't know what all behind it and everything, but at the end of the day, I mean I've seen Joe Biden many times support the military with the utmost respect, and his son did serve. Now again, his son was in the National Guard,
right? Maybe that's
in
why
Delaware.
There's such outrage.
Maybe, I don't know, but and now rest his soul. Bo died of cancer, which a lot of, I mean, it can be correlated. He can be one of those things. Like, it doesn't matter. Money and privilege doesn't always save you. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of evidence that his exposure to military burn pits caused his cancer. And that's not something that people talk about a lot, right? That's what he died of, young. He was a major in the Delaware National Guard. He did deploy to Iraq. He was awarded a Bronze Star. Now, people can be like, oh, it's Joe Biden's son. Of course they're going to give him a Bronze Star. I'm sorry, they guard those fucking awards pretty well in the military. They don't just hand them out like fucking candy. Would you agree?
I agree.
And a Bronze Star, like that's the fourth highest award in the military. Like, you're not getting one of those without some gallantry, I guess, to use a word. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah. For the most part. And there'll be people that disagree with me. I'm just trying to give credit where credit is due. And you can see the visceral. All right, so here's what it is. As soon as you start smashing the military, like I've seen interviews with him, Biden gets pissed. Like he has a visceral reaction. So, I give the man some credit with that stuff. That's all.
Yep.
I mean, his other son flopped out of the military. Yeah. And there's some others. That's a whole nother segment, their episode. but we're not going to talk about Hunter in depth. But he also served, or tried to, I should say.
Tried to serve.
Yeah.
Hey, you get a ribbon for that too.
Yeah.
Almost served.
Holy shit. Some people get fucking disability checks for that shit too.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God. There's nothing worse than the guy. I don't want to go down that road.
So
the guy that gets hurt in boot camp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're like, oh,
right.
Fuck.
Yeah,
did this just really happen?
He got his veteran's hat on, sipping a beer at the camp's like, I broke my leg in the second week of boot camp, and I had to get out.
But just so you know,
So
Hunter
you went back
Biden,
in, right?
I'll bring it in, 2014. So not that long ago.
Yeah.
Hunter Biden was discharged from the U.S. Navy Reserve after a drug test came back positive for cocaine.
Oh, damn. Not even marijuana. You're going for the good stuff, huh?
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't dishonorably discharged, but it's administrative protocol for failing a drug test. I mean, we've all done that. I've meat gazed many a time. Watching dudes
Geezer.
piss in a fucking. This is what
God,
happens.
I hated that.
So what happens, especially when they made me corporal in the Army, because that just doesn't happen very often.
Yeah,
It's like
you're
the
permanent
you're
meat
like the
gazer.
permanent meat gazer. As long as you're a corporal, you're gazing meat.
Where's Bennett at? Go get Bennett.
Get him.
Go get Corporal Bennett.
Go get fucking Corporal Tanton.
All day
He'll
long.
watch.
You got 100%
Jesus
piss test right
Christ.
here. That's awful.
And he was administratively discharged. He wasn't dishonorably discharged.
Yeah.
But either way,
So
still,
first week-
homeboy snorting coke while he's on. Come on.
you go with your bad self. First week in office, a lot of things Joe Biden's got to look at as our new 46th president of the United States of America, this great nation. And one of his top agenda items is to get rid of the Diet Coke button.
Right, yes, I did see
this?
that. I was like, I didn't read it, though. I just saw the headline. So
Joe
elaborate,
Biden-
please.
Got rid of Trump's Diet Coke button, and people are just finding out that it even existed. Today is Joe Biden's first full day in America's 46th president, and among his first orders of business at the Resolute desk was getting rid of the button Trump pushed whenever he wanted a Diet Coke.
Doesn't even shock
That's
me, though.
amazing.
It's not shocking, though.
Well, no, but if they ever come out with a sequel to
Coca-Cola,
the National
did Coca-Cola
National
stock
Treasure,
take a fucking hit
I
because they found out Trump drank Coke. They were like, "Fuck Coke, we're not drinking that shit."
so the next movie that Nicolas Cage makes about the
The Resolute
what is
desk,
it?
National
The Resolute
Treasure.
desk.
Yeah.
He'll be in there trying to find the secret compartments at the Resolute desk.
That's
And he'll
gotta-
be like pushing the Diet Coke button.
Why didn't he just get a mini fridge installed in the freaking Resolute
Right?
desk, right?
I know, because it's way cooler, man. To just sit
Have
there
a
and
button?
just push a button.
At least he got
No.
to push some button.
Well, what's interesting though is I'm curious about what happens when the button got pushed. Was it like all of a sudden did a Coke like pop out of the
Right. Or
Resolute
did it
desk?
go, that was easy? Or something like that.
Right.
Right?
Or is it just like one of his like the guys from the kitchen would run in with a Diet Coke on a platter and be like, "Here you go, Mr. President." Like I don't know how that
Did
went.
Melania
Maybe-
bring him a Coke or what was going on here?
That'd be interesting to know. And
You're
was
on
it
Coke duty, kid.
Coke duty.
You're on Diet Coke duty. Or was it like a Marine in like the communications
Right.
office?
Right, yes.
Go give the president, hey, Lance Corporal, go give the president his Diet Coke
Presented it to him ceremoniously.
on a silver platter and with a glass. Would you like ice today, sir? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Take a half a step back.
That's my question.
About face
Did he drink it out of a glass or did he drink it out of the can?
or a bottle.
Or come on.
Maybe it
He's
was
not
a glass
buying it
bottle.
from Mexico.
That's true. Maybe not.
They sell
That's true, yeah.
that Mexican Coke at the grocery
Yeah.
store here.
Well, you know the difference between the
Yes,
Mexican
yes.
Coke and the American Coke?
Well, tell us, Eddie. But I know, yes.
Mexican Coke is made from cane sugar,
Mm-hmm.
and American Coke is made from HFCS or
High
high
fructose,
fructose
corn syrup.
Right.
And they do taste
like-
distinctly different.
They do. So if you like your Coke with real sugar, then you can get the glass bottle Cokes made.
Just
made
saying,
in
it's healthier.
Mexico.
If that's a thing, it is healthier.
Yeah, if it's a thing. I myself like Coke Zero. I'm a real big fan of Coke Zero.
But that's also
myself.
made with, what do they use to sweeten that? Is it aspartame?
Aspartame. Yeah.
That shit'll give you cancer, bro.
Yeah, everything gives you cancer, though.
No, it
right?
doesn't.
Everything gives you cancer.
That's such a cop out.
Uh,
Cop out.
well,
I'll tell
I'm
you what
not-
I do like.
yeah.
Speaking of Coke products,
Uh-huh.
I'll give a plug to some Coke products.
All right.
Aha.
Aha. Yes.
Aha is a product. It's the seltzer water. But I found it goes really well with vodka. Now, I am a whiskey drinker. I basically drink nothing but whiskey, but last night, so this is one of the reasons I was super tired this morning and didn't wake up until 7:15. So I was up till 2 a.m. watching the UFC fights last night.
Oh, okay.
Colin McGregor's, fight where he got his ass kicked. Very disappointing fellow Irishman. It was a good fight, though. I mean, the kid that he's fighting, was it Portier? Is that how you would say it?
I think so. Portier, yeah.
He came freaking ready. He was ready for some shit.
Yeah.
And it was a good fight. And some of the fights earlier were good too. So, and this was actually an early night because usually those fight nights, they last like you're fucking there till like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Was
this in Vegas?
No, it was in Abu Dhabi.
Oh,
on
that's
Fight
why the time
Island.
Difference.
Well, Fight Island, yeah, but they're fighting at like 8:30 a.m. there.
Right, exactly.
It's
That's why it was
crazy.
so late for you.
Right, but no, this is every time though. Even if it's in Vegas, it's super late. They don't even start the main card until like 10 o'clock at night, which it kind of annoys me because I go to bed at like 10, bro.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is like old man shit. Like I need my freaking sleep. So I'm working on like, either way. So where was I going with this? Oh, so citrus green tea.
Yeah.
Delicious, I think. Some people, probably not. Like my kid, my youngest daughter, what did she say it tasted like? I can't remember what it was. It was really funny. But I mixed it with some vodka. Good God, son.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Huh?
Plus it has caffeine.
Yeah. Throw a little bit of lime on it.
Yeah.
Boom.
It's got 60, I think, milligrams of caffeine, something like that. Yeah.
Right.
So it's got some caffeine in it too. So, and it's got about the same caffeine as a cup of green tea, which is not as much as a cup of coffee. But, bro, it was good. Right. It was definitely.
That's nice.
And I've had some other AHA flavors like the blueberry. It's blueberry something. It's a blue and red can.
Yep.
Super good.
There's a blueberry pomegranate.
Yes, that's it. It's good.
Yeah.
Super good.
And this year, here pretty soon, they will be coming out with you've probably seen the Coke energy drinks.
Yes.
Around in the 7.5 ounce cans. Yep. Well, there's going to be some additional flavors that are coming out. So it's like the Coke energy coffee. Yeah.
Oh, so check that son of a bitch out.
Oh, man, it's good. Yes.
So
Yes.
Yeah, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Just some more energy drinks as though veterans and military folks need that shit.
Absolutely.
They have two-headed kids now because of freaking tiger's blood and all the damn monsters and rippets and bullshit that they drink overseas, man. Oh, shit. I just remember... anyway, I do have a cool article that I want to bring up.
Okay.
It's veteran centric, but it kind of runs hand in hand with our clownery of the Space Force.
Yes.
So Virgin Orbit launches rocket into space from a 747 jumbo jet, and 2 Air Force veterans were at the controls. So it's an exciting time to be alive for space nerds.
Right.
The rise of the commercial spaceflight industry has sparked rapid-fire advancements in both technology and affordability when it comes to launching satellites and manned spacecraft into space. Companies like Elon Musk's SpaceX, which everyone's heard of, but there are others too. Even Amazon has one. And Richard Branson, our Virgin Atlantic gentleman and billionaire, has a space tourism venture called Virgin Galactic, are quickly turning science fiction into reality. And this latest leap forward was particularly impressive, launching from a wing pylon on a modified 747-400, which is a massive plane, jumbo jet, nicknamed Cosmic Girl. Virgin Orbit's Launcher 1 rocket shot into space on January 17th, marking the first time a liquid-fueled, air-launched rocket had ever reached orbit. So pretty cool. And pilots Kelly Latimer and Todd Erickson, both U.S. Air Force veterans, were in the cockpit when Cosmic Girl took off from the Mojave Air and Spaceport at 10:50 a.m. on January 17th. flew to the launch area over the Pacific Ocean, which was about 50 miles south of the Channel Islands. And from there, the 2 Air Force Academy graduates piloted and the modified jumbo jet into a climb to assist the smooth release of the Launcher 1 rocket. So they climbed to like 35,000 feet, let the rocket loose, and up into space, baby.
So I think that, although that, yes, I agree, that is cool. But my question is, why would you need to launch a rocket from a 747? Why not just launch it from the ground?
Because it's way cheaper to do it this way, believe it or not.
Oh, because you're closing more of the distance.
Yeah, you're closing a lot of the distance, plus you already have the so it's also a much smaller rocket. Like you're not talking about like the what is the SpaceX rocket? Their heavy rocket.
Right.
Because I'm kind of a space nerd, dude. I'm not going to lie. SpaceX Falcon, that's it. So the heavy Falcon has like 150,000 pound payload.
Jesus.
So it's a heavy rocket. Like you've got a lot of shit you can pack into that thing, right?
Right, yeah.
But from the Launcher 1 payload, you're only talking about like 1,100 pounds.
So what is it just like a small satellite?
Well, what you can do is you can so in my head, you can launch satellites that way, which would be way cheaper to do it that way. And I think that they've actually, let me look in this article farther out.
Okay.
The 10 satellites propelled into orbit by the Launcher 1 rocket on January 17th were part of the NASA's CubeSat launch initiative. Almost all the satellites were designed and built by U.S. universities. For the next mission, Virgin Orbit will launch a commercial payload into orbit.
Wow. So 10 satellites on one.
I guess that's what it sounds like to me.
Wow. These must be like communication satellites.
Yeah, or something like that. Maybe, maybe taking pictures too, because like for like weather.
Well, I mean,
stuff.
you see how fast technology here on Earth, evolves.
Oh yeah.
You know
Crazy.
that technology is, you launch a satellite, state of the art satellite, 5 years ago, and in 5 years' time, all of the technology on that satellite's outdated, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of space trash out there, basically.
Oh, so much, man! It's absolute insanity.
So what do they do? They just
a lot of times
falls to Earth.
Yeah,
and
a lot
up?
of times they let it fall to Earth and let it burn up.
Huh. Interesting.
Because I know there was a big initiative to like clean up a lot of that shit.
Yeah.
So
maybe that's gonna be one of space.
And just because
forces.
something's in orbit,
But maybe that's gonna be one of space
fucking galactic
forces.
trash men.
Yes, it'd be like the space police call.
That's amazing. Get online,
boys.
motherfuckers.
Get up there and clean up that mess.
Get up there and clean up that mess.
It's like, I will tell you though, if you're in the Space Force and you got the mission to go to space to do a police call, it's still way cooler than picking up cigarette butts in the Army. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Still way cooler. Which I had to do a lot of, by the way.
Yeah. I thought so. I just thought this was cool. It's
cool.
a cool article.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was from the article, if you want to read it in its entirety, is in Coffee or Die magazine.
Oh, nice.
Or coffeeordie.com, written by Nolan Peterson. So, yeah.
So the last article that I wanted to bring up is from the Army Times. Top enlisted soldier at Fort Hood reinstated, cleared of wrongdoing, officials say, right?
We talked about this 2 weeks ago?
We did, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because when he was in the news for and under investigation and on what is it called, separation or whatever you want to call it, while they're investigating. Basically, he was removed from his position and put under investigation. That was like headlines, right?
Yeah,
it was
huge,
like every
huge.
headlines. All of a sudden, he gets cleared, and this article was actually really hard to find, and that
of course it was.
And that goes to everything that we've been talking about for the last several weeks, and that is, if it bleeds, it leads. So here's this guy getting thrown under the bus, Command Sergeant Major Burgoyne, right? and all over the news on every single platform, Military Times, our Military News.com, all of it, right? And then all of a sudden he gets essentially exonerated, and you don't hear anything.
No,
about
and that's
it.
kind of what is so unfortunate is that is the norm, not the
Right.
thing. So a lot of times, and this is a media tactic now too, where
Yep.
you'll see large media outlets will put out information. They'll rush to put it out, right?
Yep.
They won't do due diligence on a lot of things. I mean, how are you going to put out an article about like a hit piece on somebody and not have even asked that person questions? Like, this is journalistic fucking, like, that's like what you do as a journalist. Like, you at least call the person to ask for a comment. If they refuse comment, then you put that in the story.
Right.
How many times do you see that? We reached out to blah, blah, blah for a comment and they refused. Or their comment was blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
instead, you just put it out there, float it out there, whether it's true or not. And then what'll happen is that if someone reads it and goes balks at it and goes, that's not true, then some journalistic stuff may happen and then they'll print a retraction. But no one fucking sees the retraction.
Right.
Ever.
Exactly.
So what ends up happening, it's psychological warfare. You put it out there, and what happens is it's repeated over and over and over and over and over and over and over again as if it's fact. And then it's already stuck in the lexicon of the hive mind of the freaking American people, and it becomes fact. Where it's
Exactly.
and then, oh, sorry, we made a mistake.
Right.
They're probably not going to get sued for it. Now, there has been some shit lately where they have been sued. Like CNN paid out millions of dollars to this one instance where they put out misinformation and totally edited and cut things to fit the narrative. And then they had to put out millions. And see, it's happened to Fox. It's happened to other places too on both sides. So I'm trying to be fair here. You can't put the shit out there like this. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off, but
And I was listening to last week's episode where we were talking about the Atlanta Olympic Park bomber, and I basically made that same comment. And I listened back to that episode, and I actually said the wrong name. So it was Richard Jewell was the one that was the one that found the suspicious bag underneath the park bench, and essentially cleared out hundreds of people from the area before it detonated, saving, arguably hundreds of lives. And he was put under the microscope by the FBI and ATF, and just exactly what you had described. He was essentially convicted in the media, and everyone believed because they heard it over and over and over and over, and everyone just believed he was the one that did it. And eventually he was exonerated, and the real bomber was identified and convicted and imprisoned. But even after all of that, people still believed that Richard Jewell was the one that actually placed that bomb.
Right.
And that's it. And that's exactly the reason why you hear something long enough and repeated long enough, all of a sudden you embed it into your brain as fact. So this article, and that's why I wanted to bring this up, is even though it was really difficult to find, I have to bring it up on the show. The senior enlisted soldier at Fort Hood, Texas, has been reinstated following an investigation into allegations that he used, quote, unprofessional language, end quote, toward subordinates, according to a brief statement on the matter. The investigation concluded Friday and determined that Command Sergeant Major Arthur Burgoyne's language was not unprofessional and he did not exhibit counterproductive leadership, according to a statement from Army Forces Command, which oversees Fort Hood and ran the investigation. Now, I understand the reason why, especially in the climate today with the sexual harassment allegations and just a command climate overall within the military, which, they're taking a real hard look at now, finally. But at the end of the day, you're going to accuse somebody of this, put them, remove them from their position, put them on investigation, and then when you finally clear them, like you bury the story.
Well, what's nice though is actually, so if you look now, because this only happened 2 days ago?
Yeah.
I think it was on Friday.
Friday, yeah.
So, it was kind of like release it at the end of the week and let it just,
Right,
But
yeah.
what's nice, though, is if you go in and type Sergeant Major Burgoyne's name into a search engine now,
Yeah.
versus when I did it Friday, right? There's so much more now. So they've picked it up. Like you can see Army Times picked it up. The Military Times in general picked it up, which is kind of a key. Is like if you can get Military Times to pick it up, then you're going to have mainstream places pick it up too. Now, if you go through, there's a lot of like Fort Hood local stations. Sure. They're in Killeen and Fort Worth and those places that are nearby. Like KWTX picked it up as like a headline, so that's cool. On Fort Hood Commander reinstates Command Sergeant Major, and it's just a little blurb, but I like the ForceCom commander's his comments were good, and I'm glad, because so often it seems like the senior leadership goes silent on stuff like this. But General Michael Garrett, in the statement, Burgoyne is a tough leader who cares about every soldier in his formation. I have faith in his leadership, and I know his soldiers are his top priority. So the fact that they actually quoted him some good comments,
Yeah, right.
Putting people first includes holding our leaders to a high standard, said ForceCom Commander Michael Garrett, and then said that other statement that I said. So
right. Yeah, it's good, man.
But I mean, at the end of the day, can we stop it? And I mean, bottom line is, folks, and we talked about this 2 weeks ago. Was this the culture, the cancel culture episode?
I think it was. Yeah.
If not, it was the one right before that.
Right.
But this Army's new, people first policy push shit. It's again, it's another political agenda being pushed. I mean, I'm not.
Yep.
Of course, I want to foster an environment of dignity and respect for all people that serve, right? But sometimes people take this into like a realm that just doesn't need to be there. And at the end of the day, there has to be a certain expectation that you're going to have formation direct talk, where especially in light infantry or in any infantry, which is where Burgoyne came from. Come on. So they're calling it direct talk, which is, talk. But it's like, that's a sergeant major swearing.
Yep.
And using military jargon. You're in the fucking military. Come on.
Well, and that's the thing, is I think it's hard for folks that have never served in the military to really understand that culture.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. This was all brought upon because someone within the military complained. I don't know if they complained because they felt like they're being a social justice warrior, or they thought, I don't know. I mean, maybe they were truly offended. Which is, that's their prerogative, but just because you're offended doesn't mean you get to squash other people's shit. Anyway, we can go.
And just because you disagree doesn't make it any less true.
Right, correct.
Right.
So
I'm sure the sergeant major was speaking a lot of truth to whoever got their butt hurt, right?
And maybe, again, we'll go back to, maybe you need to go take a look in the mirror and figure out what the fuck is going on with you.
Yeah.
And why do you get so butthurt when somebody calls your shit out?
Right.
No, I mean, because that's what it really comes down to. I mean, this is psychology 101 shit. Is usually the people that they have such a visceral response to.
Right.
Usually means because they're lacking somewhere in that area, or else it wouldn't be a big deal. Now, the analogy here, or where I say is, I remember a comedian, and I can't remember who it was. He talks about language, and words do matter, but yet do they always? Sometimes shit's just funny. Sometimes shit is just what it is, right? So
Yeah.
just because you say it doesn't mean that's what you believe in your heart either. So if
Yeah.
someone calls your mama a hoe, why are you so mad? Because is she? Is your mama a hoe? Otherwise, if your mom's not a hoe, why the fuck are you freaking out?
Not with your mama jokes.
You know what I mean? Right? Think about
Yeah.
it. You always had that friend that got pissed when you told your mama jokes.
Yeah.
And probably because
So-
his mom was a hoe.
Have you ever heard of the comedian Nikki Glazer?
Yes. She's hysterical.
Oh my God! I've watched. So if you go to YouTube and you just type in Nikki Glazer,
She cuts so much shit.
Nikki Glazer, Glaser, and she does some celebrity roasts, right?
Oh, God.
Oh,
Those
my-
fucking roasts,
Oh
man.
my God!
Comedy Central's those roasts on there. Did you ever see like the one they did with Justin Bieber?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this shit is so funny.
Oh,
Just brutal.
we're like, I mean, I've seen roasts.
Did you see the one of Donald Trump?
No, I missed
Oh
that
my
one.
God. Like you're like, oh man, Donald ain't gonna take that very well. But he's sitting there just smiling,
He's
laughing,
heard it all, man.
getting
He's heard
fucking
it all.
roasted.
Roasted. Yeah, I'd have to say I've heard many other comedians do roasts. None of them are as. I mean, I listened to the Nikki ones. Oh my God! I was like, oh my God, she went there. It's insane. Go check it out. They're hilarious. I mean, but I like that kind of humor. So
And you know what? Most people in the military do.
it's right. Right. Yes.
Because it's like speaking the truth, but you're like, eh.
Yeah.
And
Well,
and people and half the time you get roasted like that, like in a formation or not in a formation, but like you guys sitting around with your buddies and you're just busting balls.
Right.
Half
yeah.
the time you can't even argue because you're like, yeah, it's right.
Yeah. Right. All right, man. We got to pull this back in, man. We're going all off on the tangent.
Yeah, I think the freaking audience likes it.
Yeah, I think so too. So we're gonna move.
But if they don't, sorry. So sorry. Take it. We don't take shit too seriously. We try not to.
But definitely not ourselves. That's for sure.
Oh my God.
Segment 3, topic of the week: transformation of your mind, body, and spirit. So this is something that you've really been into for, I mean, as long as I've known you, and
Years
probably
and
before
years.
that. And it seems like you get deeper and deeper into this, and you use it quite a bit in your work, your daily work, and your daily
Yep.
life, which is really cool. I did, like I said at the beginning of the show, I found an article, and we don't have to talk about it if we run out of time, but we'll
Let's
turn it
start
over
with
to you.
it.
All right.
Start with the article.
So the article, 5 steps for mental, spiritual, and physical rejuvenation. And so this was a Huffington Post article that I found written by Maria Rodell, who's the CEO and chairman of Rodell Inc., and also an author of several books. And it was a pretty well written article, and it just kind of went through these steps. And it's not a very long article, so we could go through each one of them here. But it says, it says here, instead of falling for the usual January hype, how about breaking out of the script, ditching the propaganda, and planning on a year of genuine, sustainable for life transformation? Here are some basics to get you started on the path of mental, spiritual, and physical regrouping and rejuvenation. So the first one is be brave and transform. Throughout your life, you engage in countless transformations, and with each, you create a new wisdom and expand your powerful base for a healthy mind, body, and spirit. Transformation is gradual and empowering. It's dynamic and fueled by lots of trial and error. So how do you do it? Close your eyes and envision a peaceful, calm mind directing choices that lead to increasing health and well-being. Memorize that vision. Transformation continues for your entire lifetime. The journey is the destination. So what she's describing here, and this is something I wanted to talk to you about, is this idea of visualization, right? And you hear it in in circles of meditation, and a lot of people even may have heard it as what's called a what's it called where you like take clippings of things out of a magazine and put it on a board?
Yeah,
I forget what that.
Holy Christ! You just freaking
ripped it right out of your brain.
Ripped it right out of my brain.
A vision board.
Vision board, yes.
A vision board. So it's similar, right? It's just a way to because, and some people are like, that's a little woo-woo-y, and does it really work? But at the end of the day, I think your mind will focus on what it visualizes, and if you're constantly visualizing what you don't have, and it's all poor, pitiful me all the time, 24/7, then essentially that's how your mind kind of adapts to that mindset.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're looking at, okay, I want to, better myself, better my education, better my relationship, better my career, better my, and you're envisioning all of the things that you need to do to succeed at those goals or targets, then your mind then kind of, your brain is very, what's it called? Not elastic.
Plasticity.
Plasticity,
but
right?
It's malleable.
There you go, right. and you can manipulate your brain for positive or for negative. And so just what are your thoughts about that in terms of, a lot of people also refer to it as life mantras. So you're like, a mantra.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's a million things that we can call it, and there's so many different. Well, all right, so let's back up just a second.
Yeah, man.
So when it comes to stuff like visualization, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about transforming your life, right? Mind, body, spirit. At the end of the day, oh Jesus, I said it.
We need to get like an end of the day tip jar
or a button. I want a button.
What a button
that like zaps me or something.
And every time you say it, we'll put.
So positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement.
Yeah.
So visualization. But we come down to this idea that success leaves clues, right? So look out at, find somebody that you want to be or that you like or you think you want to be like, and figure out what they did to get where they're at, right? And usually you can look at dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of people, right? Anybody doing their... Did something happen with the recording?
No, I don't think so.
You can hear me. All right, good.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So, success leaves clues. And one of the things that people always talk about is visualization. Mm-hmm. So, successful people throughout the millennia have done this. So, it's not something to be discounted. Now, even yesterday, as I was listening to the new episode of Real AF with Andy Frisella, you had PJ, he's one of Jocko's guys. PJ Donnell, is that it? JP Donnell?
JP, yeah.
JP.
Yeah.
He's one of Jocko's, he works for Echelon Front. He was one of Jocko's SEALs, right?
Yeah.
They were both on. And Andy Frisella's even talking about manifestation. Freaking Gary V talks about manifestation. Of course you have like a manifestation at the end of the day. It's kind of the same thing, right? They all kind of go hand in hand. And yes, it's very woo-woo-y. But if you put this stuff in your mind and you think about it, what you think about is what you create.
Right.
It's not, now when we say manifesting or visualizing, it's not like I'm going to manifest this beer floating up and coming into my mouth. That's not what we're saying, or that a Bentley is gonna freaking just appear in my freaking driveway. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You still have to do the work, but what the train of thought is that it's never gonna happen if all you think about is negative shit, or hang around with negative people. Or do negative things. Like what you think about and what you work towards is what's going to be created. So is it technically manifestation? Is it fucking magic? No, but I think there's something to the energy part of it, because
Okay,
this is
yeah.
one of the things that I study, is that we know that like energy attracts like energy.
Yeah, right, correct.
And if you're thinking positively and you're, it's simple as thinking about where do you see yourself in 5 years, and then writing that down, putting it on a vision board.
Right.
If you don't know where the fuck you want to go, or where you want your end to be, you're never going to get there. You're just going to flounder around and flap around like a dead ass fish. So doesn't it make sense when you think about it in that fashion?
Right.
How do you imagine your future? How do you imagine the woman of your dreams or the man of your dreams to be? How much money do you want to make? I mean, you might not want to be a millionaire. Maybe you just want to be comfortable. Can you confidently reply to all these questions? And if you can't, then you need to sit down and do some of this work. Because how are you going to get there if you don't even know where you're going?
Right.
And that's what this really is about.
So how do you start that? Is it something you sit down and maybe brainstorm? Do you write it down?
Yes. And I always suggest to writing it down, because it's not real. Write it down and read it. Speak the truth. Speak your truth to the universe. And people are like, just do it. Seriously, get up and say it, because it's not real unless you say it. It even has a psychological effect. The difference between you thinking it and you actually saying it, your subconscious reacts differently. We know this. It's neurological science.
Some people will write it like on a sticky and put it on their mirror and read it.
Which that's an accountability mirror. That's David Goggins' like bread and butter. That's like his shit. So you put stickies on the freaking thing, like, I want to lose 50 pounds by blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But it also comes into like having different tools. Like one of our big ones that we've used for years is SMART goals.
Right.
Right? This all gets jumbled together because it all is symbiotic.
Right.
But like SMART goals, you want to go through that real quick? I mean, I think that's one of the biggest, easiest tools.
Sure.
So SMART goals.
It's an acronym,
yes.
of course.
So SMART.
SMART.
So what is the S?
S is, hold on a minute, I got to pull up the acronym. Because there's a couple of different variations of it. So SMART goals. What are SMART goals? Specific, yeah. So you got to get really, it can't be too general, otherwise you're going to miss your target. Or you could achieve your target and not realize you're there, right? If your goal is too broad.
Too broad. Like,
right.
I want to lose weight.
Yeah, but how much? That's what I'm saying, right?
Right, and that's what we're saying with specific.
Right. Specific is you got to know when you've arrived, right?
I want to make $100,000 this year.
Right.
I want to, it can't be I want to be rich.
Yes.
That doesn't, I want to travel when I next year. Well, where? So specific. Yep. Make your goal specific and narrow for more effective planning.
Right.
Right.
M is measurable.
And define what evidence will prove you're making progress and reevaluate when necessary. So measurable. Right? So that goes hand in hand with being specific. You can measure, well, I want to lose 100 pounds by such and such a date.
Right, with specific criteria that measures your progress toward the accomplishment of the goal.
Right. So you can say, okay, I need to lose 5 pounds a month until I reach the goal.
Right.
And if you don't, then you need to adjust. So you lost 4 pounds last month.
Yeah.
Well, how am I going to get to losing 5 next month so I get back on track?
Right.
Measurable, right? Mm-hmm. I always use weight because it always seems like that's one of the things that they want. Or making money.
Achievable.
Attainable. See, there you go. It's the difference. Attainable and achievable mean the same thing.
Right. Yeah, but this is the important one, right? Because, and the reason I say this is, well, they're all important, but this one for me is important because you want to shoot for something that you could actually reach, but at the same time,
uncomfortable.
Yeah, you've got to push the envelope a little bit, right?
You want it to be out there so it's uncomfortable to reach that.
Yeah,
exactly. You've got to put it so it's just out of reach.
Right.
But what do you have to do to make it within?
Like, for example, let's say you can comfortably lose 150 pounds to get into some reasonable BMI, for example, right? 150 pounds is a lot of weight. And all of a sudden you want to do your SMART goal, and your first achievable goal that you set for yourself is to lose 5 pounds. Now, that's admirable, but in the grand scheme of things, are you really pushing the envelope? If you got 150 pounds to lose, maybe your first 5 is the hardest. Maybe that is a stretch. I don't know, but I would say give yourself a little bit more of a target, because you want to be able to push yourself, be outside of your comfort zone a little bit, right?
Yep.
I think.
I agree.
And we'll come back to comfort zone in a minute, because I got another article I'd like to read about that. R for
relevant.
Relevant, right? Or realistic. Within reach, realistic, and relevant to your life's purpose or to your goal, right?
Yep. Your values, your long-term objectives, because this could be part of this. See, this is one of the things that I like to think is you have an overarching goal.
Yeah.
That you write down, right? And like if you had this goal of I want to retire by the age of 50.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's just say that. And then you've got to do all kinds of other shit to get to that. Right. Like, that is a SMART goal, right? Yep. But what do you have to do? Like, how many other different SMART goals do you have to fulfill to make that happen?
Right.
And it just then you sit down and you write out the framework. This is where like vision boards come in, because you have pictures of where you want to spend your time once you retire. You have the dream house that you want to own on the beach or wherever, right? You have a picture of that. You have a picture of the car you want to drive. You have a picture of all these different things. They don't all have to be material. You can put pictures up there that show like, the way that your brain works, and this is how you want to think. And, the sky's the limit, but you need to do it. And you have to write those goals. And each one of those is a SMART goal.
Right.
And there's other acronyms. There's other systems that you can use. I just use SMART because it's simple.
Yep. And then the last one, T, is timely, with a clearly defined timeline, including a starting date and target date. The purpose is to create urgency. Because if you don't have essentially a target date to create that urgency, then your SMART goal turns into a someday, right? Someday I'd like to lose 150 pounds, or someday I'd like to retire and move to whatever. And all of a sudden it no longer becomes relevant. So all of these kind of tie into each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
And you have to be flexible, because you're going to run into roadblocks, and you're going to have things that happen. Like, life does happen, and just because you get knocked off course doesn't mean you have to be completely derailed.
Right.
So
really quick, ask specific. Ask yourself these questions: who is involved in this goal? Who do I want, or what do I want to accomplish? Where is this goal to be achieved? When do I want to achieve this goal, and why do I want to achieve this goal? Now we're talking about measurable, which is the M in SMART. How many or how much? How do I know if I've reached the goal? And what is my indicator of progress? So those are the 3 questions to ask when you're trying to come up with something measurable. Moving into achievable, 2 questions to ask are, do I have the resources and capabilities to achieve the goal? And if not, what am I missing? And the second one is, have others done it successfully before, right? So if you give yourself a goal that no one's ever done before, I mean, there's nothing wrong with shooting for the stars, but I mean, come on, look.
Literally.
Right? You want something achievable. When you're talking about realistic, the R in SMART, 3 questions you can ask is the goal realistic and within reach? 2 is the goal reachable given the time and resources? And the third one is, are you able to commit to achieving the goal? And then the last one, T, timely, 2 questions you can ask is, does my goal have a deadline? And 2, by when do I want to achieve this goal? So there you go. It's pretty simple,
But
but
it ain't easy.
there you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, so when we're coming back around, so we were just kind of talking about visualization, right?
Yeah.
This works with sports. This works with work. This works
Right.
with practice. It works with all these different things. And everyone from Oprah Winfrey to Jim Carrey to Tony Robbins to Gary Vee to, I mean, you name a person, they've probably practiced visualization in their real life, right?
Yep. Right.
So that visualization mood, the meditation. I mean, I use the 6-phase meditation with Vision, the Kiani, which we've talked about before on this podcast. Writing your daily affirmations, all these things, right?
Yeah.
And basically affirmations, just to touch on that for 1 second, affirmations are things that basically help your mind as well as get into future mode, right? So when you write affirmations in the present tense, be careful not to write too many because that can be overwhelming. But start with I, followed by something that you wish you had accomplished already or how you want it to be in the future. So like, I am strong and face all adversaries with grace. So, something like that. Like, that's something very similar to what I've been telling myself lately, to just not be such an angry son of a bitch
Right.
with people, right? But so affirmations work too, and it all goes hand in hand, and that's part of the reason I do the meditation that I do, because it's through the 6 phases. You're doing all these things. So.
Right. So the second one, we're going back to the 5 steps of mental, spiritual, and physical rejuvenation in the Huffington Post. The second one is give your dreams deadlines. Everyone's got dreams, but a dream without a plan is only a dream. Let's drill down into what you really want and can realistically achieve. So how to do it. Grab a paper and a pen and write down the word mind, mouth, and muscle across the top of each page. I believe in a holistic and integrative approach to change and transformation. Each of these elements supports the others so that you get more of an effective result. Below each word, write from 3 to 5 goals that you'd like to achieve in each category over the course of the next 12 months. Under mind, you might write, do a daily meditation. Under mouth, eat a healthy breakfast. And under muscle, walk for 30 minutes each day. Now examine each column and, taking whatever time you need, choose just one goal you know you can work on and achieve over the course of 1 month. Write each of these goals down in any kind of journal or tracking tool and write each as a commitment. And then write them into your daily calendar. So it's basically taking the SMART method we just talked about and kind of breaking it down to group them into mind, mouth, and muscle, which is essentially the mental, spiritual, and physical element of this rejuvenation process. Yep. That's pretty, I like that. I've never really heard of it this way, but I think this is really kind of cool because what it does is it forces you to focus a little bit in each of those 3 categories, because each of those 3 categories really do affect the other, right? Because you can have really good mental goals, but if you're not addressing spiritual and physical, then you're not as well-rounded as you could be.
Mind, body, spirit. Right.
Number 3 is practice the 80-20 rule, and I think many of us have heard of 80-20 rule.
Shit, we've talked about it ad nauseum
right?
on here.
And this is one that's important for me because I've often said I have a problem sometimes in making perfect the enemy of good, right?
Yes.
And so this 80-20 rule really helps. So it says here, forget perfectionism. You're human and stuff happens. Wiggle room is an essential part of your transformation journey. So how to do it? Aim to hit your goals 80% of the time, leaving 20% open for other things. We call that life, right? Life gets in the way. Mm-hmm. If you'll do that, you'll train your brain to cut you some slack when life gets in the way of your plans. Sure, you'll have 100% days and make some, and then make sure that you congratulate yourself when you do, but there might be well as 50% of the days as well. So the point is you can either stress on the days that you don't reach 100%, or you can just give yourself a little bit of breathing room. Like, don't take yourself too seriously. Obviously, you want to take your goals seriously, but realize that things are going to happen, right?
Yep, for sure.
And then the last one here is give yourself license to chill. Your mind is racked all day with work, anxiety, hyperfocus, and high performance. Like your body, it fatigues. You'll need to make time to chill, time to chill, to just be and not do, right? And sometimes I have to do that. I have to just be sometimes and not feel like I've got to do something all the time. So it says how to do it. Meditation and prayer are superb ways to achieve this goal. When you meditate and or calm your mind with prayer, you activate the smarty pants part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, and this allows you more brain cells to form new circuits to support new habits. And when you chill, you get smarter and energized. You embark on your year of transformation, celebrate each victory, regardless of size, and be patient with yourself. You can do it one step at a time. And some people, they cringe when they hear the word prayer, but really it's just quieting your mind, right?
Absolutely. Oh my God, especially in this day and age, right?
Yeah.
And the last, 3 months have been an example of calm the fuck down.
Mm-hmm.
Calm your mind.
Right.
I mean, there really isn't, and people are like, oh, that's so, whatever, but everyone understands when I say calm the fuck down.
Right.
And you're like, oh, he just told me to calm the fuck down. Now, some people, this reminds me of like the Dennis Leary shit back in like the 90s with the, his revolutionary mental health, versus shut the fuck up.
Right, yes.
Oh my God, he told me to shut the fuck up and I feel so much better about myself. He just told me to shut the fuck up. I'm saying calm the fuck down.
Right.
Same thing. Just calm the fuck down. Like, stop for 1 second, take a deep breath and calm the fuck down. Like, You're all whipped up about truly nothing. Of course, we all have things that we need to worry about. But President Trump is not one of them.
Right.
Joe Biden, for the most part, is not one of them. President Biden. I'll call him President Biden now, right? Because he is.
Yeah.
So those are not things that you need to worry so much about that they control your whole fucking life. Agreed. Oh, my God. Take a deep breath and calm the fuck down.
So
just thinking about that makes me calm the fuck down. Like, I literally just took a big deep breath. Calm the fuck down.
And that's weird too, that taking a I call it an active breath. An active breath is, obviously we all breathe subconsciously without thinking about it. It's part of there's a technical medical term for it, but so it's one of those things that a human can do on command when thinking about it, and it's also something that can be done without you thinking about it, which is why you're able to breathe when you're sleeping.
Yep.
And what I call it an active breath, because it's consciously you are forcing yourself to breathe deeper than you normally do, and then exhale, in a meaningful way. And by taking those deep breaths in and exhaling completely, it really does alter your mindset, right?
Yep. So, because what we'll talk about here in a second. Keep going.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things that it's the easiest thing you can do to get into that, what we call, calming the fuck down state. And for example, I do this when I'm commuting to work or from work home. I'll often get cut off by, and we use this analogy all the time, but it's something I still struggle with at times, is I'll get cut off by a driver that just is acting like an asshat and doesn't need to be driving that way. I can't change that driver, right? But
unless you roll up behind him and jump out and pull him out of his car and beat his ass. That's what I'm going to do. This fucking motherfucker. I'm going to fucking flip him. What the fuck does that accomplish ever?
Right, exactly.
I'll teach him a fucking lesson.
Mm-hmm.
No, you won't.
So that sometimes I will allow that driver to negatively impact the way I feel. I get angry. I get frustrated.
Shit'll ruin your day.
Right, and so I can control my own feelings. And the way I do that is I start with an active, conscious breath. I got to take a deep breath in, a nice, slow, deep, controlled breath out. And after 2 or 3 of those, I can feel that anger and that rage, that frustration subside.
Start to dissipate.
Yes. Right. It doesn't go, it's not like a switch where it just turns off and goes away automatically just all at once. But I can definitely feel like it's like a gauge. It's like it's not a switch and it's not off on. It's like a knob that you turn, right? And it goes from like heightened down to manageable,
yes,
right?
Correct. So this is biology,
okay?
Right? And so I challenge you that if you're angry, even just sitting here listening to this, take 3 big deep breaths, 1 all the way in and all the way out, 3 in a row. And the other thing is, if you're really stressed out, what I always tell people is actually when you exhale, make it audible. So take a deep breath in, and then when you breathe out, go, ah, like actually make it audible. And that does something. Okay. So that's just quick, 3 breaths. But what we're talking about here is you're talking about your breathing and how we do it. There's active breathing and there's passive breathing, right? But what this is all controlled by is the autonomic nervous system. So we have a way of actually a breathing technique where you actually hack. It's like hacking your nervous system, okay? So it's called coherent breathing. And I've been doing this shit for years and teaching people to do it for years. All right. If you go onto our website, onto our YouTube channel, that I have this posted there. It's a script where I'm gonna read you what the beginning of that video is right now. Go to our Instagram, and it's on there. It's 15 minutes, but the longer version, which is on YouTube, is 20 minutes. It's actually 18 and change. But so coherent breathing is a form of breathing that involves taking long, slow breaths at a rate of about 5 per minute. Now people are like, what? Just coherent breathing or deep breathing helps to calm the body through its effect on the autonomic nervous system. Whether it is practiced as part of yoga or as meditation or simply on its own as a relaxation strategy, coherent breathing is a simple and easy way to reduce stress and calm the fuck down when feeling anxious. Now, every day you breathe in and you breathe out with giving it much thought. And while that is true, that breathing is an unconscious action, it is also unique in that we can bring it under conscious control. Right? And that's a huge thing. Right. So how does coherent breathing work? It works to slow down the body. Breathing obviously is one of the many components of the autonomic nervous system, which also includes your heart rate, your digestive system, and more. Like your body does these things without thinking, right? It just does it.
Right.
So your vagus nerve, which is part of the autonomic nervous system, runs from your brain all the way down through the opening in your diaphragm to your gut, okay? And its purpose is to send signals to adjust the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems, which form the autonomic nervous system. So this has effects on heart rate, digestion, and general feelings of being calm. So in general, your vagus nerve has the job of slowing your heart when it speeds up. and to keep it at a steady, resilient rate of, the average is somewhere between 70 to 100, right?
Yeah.
It might be lower as well. Like there's people with resting heart rates in the 50s and 60s, but usually a resilient rate is somewhere between 70 to 100. This is why the easiest way to activate your vagus nerve, and basically it's a good way to think about it, is to like pull the emergency brake on a racing heart, right?
Yeah.
Like think about driving a car and you having to pull the e-brake, which
right.
not very many people have done. But if you think about it in that way, like your heart starts racing, you start getting sweaty, you start like basically anxiety, panic attack, that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
This is the best way to slow your breath, right? And it's like a hack of your nervous system. So you can do something within your conscious control that has an effect on a process that you otherwise can't directly control. So your breathing, you're working on getting your breathing to leave a stressed state. And that's what coherent breathing is about. Long breath in, long breath out. And when you do that, the rest of your autonomic nervous system will follow suit, creating a chain reaction that can help you reduce stress, anxiety, and related problems. All right?
Yep.
I mean, that's basically what it is.
Well, and that's the other thing, too, is a lot of people that you'll hear talk about ways to combat depression and anger and things is to have a release or an outlet. And a lot of folks recommend, some type of physical exertion or activity. And a lot of people think it's the act of engaging your muscles is what causes this change in your system. And to some degree it is. But it's really when you're active and you're out there and you're walking briskly, or you go to the gym and you're doing squats, or you're on a treadmill. What you're doing is you're increasing your heart rate, but as a result of increasing your heart rate, you're actually increasing your breath rate. So you're taking deeper, longer breaths as a result, and it's really the increase in breaths in that physical activity that's really allowing that calming effect.
Absolutely.
In your mind,
same
right?
idea, right? It's the same thing. I mean, there's studies. This is science. Like this shit is proven to help, right? With anxiety, depression systems, stress, immune system issues, alertness, concentration, post-traumatic stress disorder, attention deficit disorder.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. You use this a lot in your line of work because
absolutely.
you deal with a lot of veterans in PTSD.
Yes.
And,
and a lot of times they're just this idea of hypervigilance, right?
Right.
And this stuff. So the coherent breathing that I have on there, it's basically a chimes. You breathe in on a high chime and out on the low chime the best that you can. Start slow. But what I even say that's easier is focus on your natural breaths. Count the length of each inhale and exhale just to obtain a baseline, right?
Right.
But what I say is find a comfortable position to practice coherent breathing. And this is just to get a starting point. Breathe in for 4 seconds and then out for 4 seconds, and do this for a minute.
Yep.
Repeat, but extend your inhales and exhales to 5 seconds, right? So this is practice. And then you may even want to extend it to 6 seconds just to kind of get this process down, right? Because it can be hard to just jump right into the chimes. Some people, they end up freaking out. But there's no right or wrong way to do it. Just breathe in and breathe out, right? The chimes just helps you practice. And it truly does. And this is what you should, I do it every single day. I do coherent breathing literally every single day as preventive maintenance. Now, the long, slow breaths, because you're stressed. Story. My daughter, my 16-year-old, last night spent the night at one of her friends. Now, sometimes she has anxiety issues. And for no reason, apparently no reason. I mean, I'm sure many of our audience can agree to this, or they can sympathize. All of a sudden, they just get super anxious and they have no reason why. They don't even know why. or you can call it triggered, or you can call it whatever you want. But it's a state of anxiety that's not fun to be in. Let's just call it that, right?
Yep.
And you have no idea why. So literally, she called my wife at 5 a.m. Like, I can't sleep. I'm super stressed out. And I've got my wife where she does this. And she talked her through it, walked her through it. And my kids know this too. But sometimes you just have to, remind them. But next thing I know, she's breathing with my daughter. And my daughter's like, okay, I'm better. I got to go.
Wow.
I do it before you go to sleep. I'm telling you, it's so, again, it's so simple, but this one is easy. You just got to fucking breathe. You just have to have the wherewithal to do it, and
right.
it will have a profound effect. I promise. This is one of those things like you can't guarantee a lot in life, but this I can promise will have a profound effect.
And what's the worst case is if you've never tried it before, what do you have to lose? Right?
Exactly.
So people are like, "Oh, I ain't doing that. That's some hokey.
That's some hokey
right.
shit." Well, then keep feeling like shit. That's fine.
And here's the part that I like, right? Is a lot of people get wrapped around the axles around the words and the terminology that people use to describe this stuff, whether it be prayer or meditation or, and that's the thing is, call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
Call it, you know what I mean?
Seriously.
You give it your own name. Call it that. If that's what the big hang up is this whole, I don't like to
the
call
semantics.
it right. If you want to, yes. Yeah. If you're wrapped around the axles around the semantics of what we're calling it or what other people call it, then give it your own name, call it that, but just do it. Just try it and see what it does for you. Because here's the thing, right? Your body and the way we're just talking about the vagus nerve and the symbiotic system, like your body doesn't care what other people call it. It still has the same effect.
Exactly.
Right.
Absolutely.
So it's really cool. This is something that you introduced to me many years ago, and I'll be honest, man. When you first started talking to me about this stuff, I'm like, is this guy serious? I'm like, really? But then I tried it, and I was like, wow, this shit actually works. And I was like, okay, man, yeah, I mean, it works, and I use it. I'll admit I don't do this every single day. I probably should. I'd probably be in a much better place if I did. But I definitely do it when I feel that feeling of anxiety or anger or frustration or those, I can sense when I'm mentally in a place that I'm not in a good mood, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
that's when okay, I just need to take a minute. And that's the thing is a lot of people hear the word meditation, they're like, oh, well, I got to have a fancy meditation like bench or ball or whatever. It's like, no. Do it wherever you are. I do it in the car. I do it at my desk. It just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, my Apple Watch has a breathing kind of feature.
Sure does.
And all of a sudden, it'll start.
And that's
like,
a 1 minute
vibrating.
breathing. And that's what that is, though. It's coherent breathing. It's coherent breathing in a 1 minute block.
Yes. And so I've done that before where I'm just sitting watching TV and my watch will go off and it'll be like this. I'm like, and I'll follow along with the guided breathing, coherent breathing on my Apple Watch. And when I'm done, I feel a lot better.
Yeah, for me, this is the linchpin in all the shit that I do, is doing this breath work.
Yeah.
And specifically coherent breathing. I mean, there's so many different types of belly or breathing. You have belly breathing, you have energizing breath, and you have breathing that will even get you high. Like but the other type of breathing that I use pretty regularly is Wim Hof. It's called the Wim Hof method. It's too long to go into.
Not to be confused with the guy running down the beach in his red shorts.
Right. Wim Hof. But Wim Hof also integrates cold therapy into things with breathing. All right.
Okay.
And but that's like coherent breathing to start, folks. Okay.
Yeah,
You can look into Wim Hof if you want on your own. And you'll probably say the dude's batshit crazy, but there is a lot to it. And again, I use it as well. Almost every day. And I do both. And then I usually take a super cold shower when I'm done, or sit in the fucking snow, which seems crazy to people, but yet it has a therapeutic effect. Yesterday, I think our high temp, let's look.
Yeah, it's cold.
It was only in the 20s yesterday, I think, maybe teens. I don't even know what it is. Well, right now it's 12.
Right.
But when I'm done with this, I walk 3.5 miles every day. Rain, shine.
With shorts on.
And I wear shorts.
Yeah.
And in 12-degree weather, I'll be wearing shorts.
Well,
and
do you have like a jacket?
No, I just wear a sweatshirt. That's it.
Okay.
And I'll probably wear gloves and maybe a stocking hat, but I usually just wear a hat and no gloves. If it's under 20, if it's around in the 20s, I'll probably wear gloves usually, but I still don't usually bust out the hat until it gets into the teens.
Right.
And this is called acclimatization. Mm-hmm. You're building resilience within your body to the cold. You're building resilience to other things. You're producing what is called brown fat that helps you burn more fat. It helps you be more healthier. You're energizing the mitochondria in your system. This is really deep, and it's a lot to go into in one episode, and we really can't. But this is just a cracking of the door. And I always say, start with coherent breathing. Start with your breathing. I also highly recommend the book Breath by James Nestor. I think I've talked about this multiple times on the show. And I literally wish I had a stack of these books to just hand out to people. But there is a Joe Rogan episode that you can go back to and listen to James Nestor talk about breath and how broken our system is when it comes to teaching people breath. Like, this is something we have to do as humans, right? But there's people that breathe effectively and there's people that don't. Mm-hmm. And the litany of health issues that are caused by ineffective breathing is amazing. So
I'm on the website changeyourpov.com right now, and are we going to put a link or a button on here that will take someone to that breathing?
Yeah, I'll put a button on. I'll do that today when we're done. Yeah. I'll put a button on. I'll put a button that says coherent breathing.
Yeah, and even maybe up at the top.
Yeah,
to
and it'll
7-day resume, right? Yeah.
Yep, it'll link directly to the YouTube video.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that way you don't have to go hunt around for it. Just go to changeyourpov.com, look for either in the menu or the button somewhere on the site there, and just click on it, and it'll take you right to the coherent breathing, which you sent it to me like in a chat when we were first started to do this, and I enjoyed it, but it was like, I think if we could find a way to make it accessible faster.
Yep, absolutely.
That way, you know what I mean? You can just, boom, you can pin it and you go right there and you're all set.
So,
yeah, man.
I mean, you can access it. Yeah, there's so many different ways, but
cool.
I'll make sure it's on the website. So
awesome.
Just to also show to Joe Rogan Experience, episode 1506, James Nestor. It's a must listen. It was from this summer. So 1506 on Rogan, which I think you can only access on Spotify now. But I bet if you typed Rogan episode 1506, it's one of the ones that would still be on YouTube. So
okay.
And that,
very cool.
It's just amazing. His, he's a researcher and he's done all this breath work, and the book is amazing.
Nice.
So
all right.
So what it really comes down to is mind, body, spirit.
Yep.
It starts with the breath.
It does. Yeah, I mean, because if you I guess you could do all those other things without it, but I think if you incorporate the breathing into everything else, all the other three components.
It's the gateway, man.
I agree.
It is the gateway. So I say start there. If you have other questions on maybe you already do breathing, maybe you already get it and you're squared away and you want to know where to go next, then reach out to me. Reach out to us. I've got this literally, folks. People, like, if I am an authority on anything, it's this shit. No, it's because I literally, this is what I do for a living. I have literally taught thousands of people how to improve their lives just by breathing. Just by breathing. That's really cool. I mean, now, does that mean I'm an expert at why? No, but I can teach you how.
Right.
And it's not rocket science.
Well, that's things. If you know how, it doesn't really matter the why.
No, exactly. It doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter why because it works. And that's the truth.
Right. Because the flip side is you can know why, but if you don't
do
how,
it, if you don't do it, then it's all for naught.
Yeah.
So again, this is something when it comes to whole health wellness, which we're talking about today, basically. I like to say whole health wellness. If that's what we're talking about, this is the gateway to that. Right. All else, diet, exercise, all the other shit's secondary. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people put the cart before the horse.
Right.
With this type of stuff. Start with the basic thing that gives you life, and that is breath. The way you breathe matters so much. I can't stress this enough. It all starts with breath. Okay? And once you can get that squared away, then we'll move on.
Right.
But until you can breathe and control your anxiety, the rest of it is kind of a moot point. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, so I'm not going to get any more confusing than that. It's just, that's what it is. We need to work on the breath.
So it sounds like we got an opportunity at a later episode, maybe dig into some of these concepts a little deeper.
Yeah, that's kind of the point, right?
Yeah. So this is a great segue into our last final segment, Archive Episode Spotlight. This week we've selected episode 65, Live a More Fulfilling Life with Trust, Gratitude, and Forgiveness. And it's the little things that you just take for granted every single day. I mean, how many amputees do we know that just getting out of bed and going to the bathroom in the middle of the night, like, is an ordeal? Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? And because they've got to put on, get into the wheelchair, or they got to put on their legs, or they've got to literally, crawl or roll over to whatever they've got to do, or have a bottle beside the bed that they use. I mean, just the easy thing that you and I take for granted every single day can be a monumental thing to somebody else.
So two things I want to take from that is, first off, and this is just a show of what you can use gratitude for, or things that you realize that you have gratitude for. Now, I bet you can picture right now exactly what your daughter's face looked like when she found out what you were doing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I challenge you, the next time you get cut off in traffic, or you're pissed off at work, or you're pissed off at whatever, put that thought in your head and see how long you're in a bad mood.
Yeah, I like that.
You understand?
Yeah.
So it's what we call a resource. And people may have heard, they may hear about these things, but I'm telling you, they work. So again, I'll go into that again at a later date. The other thing is that of all people on the face of this planet, us as veterans should know gratitude. Okay? And we should be able to look at the little nuances within the world and go, oh my God, I'm grateful for everything around me.
So yeah, that was a long time ago, but there's a lot of
Same concepts
that
don't change.
We're still talking about it, right?
They haven't changed in thousands of years, my friends. It's seriously. I mean,
Right.
This is all taken from ancient knowledge, things that we know inherently within ourselves. And trust, gratitude, and forgiveness is, again, that's like, it's almost like you have breath, and that opens up into these concepts. Trusting yourself and others. Gratitude is gratitude. I mean, that's kind of a simple concept, but actually practicing gratitude is not as simple. But then the forgiveness part is also usually, and this is a good time, it's a good time while you're breathing, right, to work on this forgiveness part. And the forgiveness part, it truly, the person that you probably have to forgive the most is yourself. And that's just the truth. We can blame others for our problems as much as we want, but usually the person that we need to forgive is ourselves. And yes, you may have had a tumultuous childhood. You may have been abused. You may have been abused in relationships. You may have been abused in life in general, right? But you can't change that. So you have to look at it through the lens of how do I move forward and forgive myself. Doesn't mean you have to forget, but you have to move on. And that's what forgiveness truly is moving past stuff, moving past all that bullshit that you're hanging on, that toxicity. And you know what? Breathing helps you do that too, and help you let it go. So I say calm the fuck down. It should be calm the fuck down and let it go. Seriously.
Yeah, right. Great episode today, sir.
One last thing.
Yes.
Take a deep breath in and let it go. That's it. Fucking let it go.
Thank you for listening to Change Your Point of View podcast. Pull up a chair and get a seat at the table and be a part of the conversation. Connect with us over on Facebook at our closed Facebook group called Change Your POV Squad. Let us know what you think of the show, good, bad, or indifferent. We'd love to hear your thoughts.